Welcome to Vice Casting Couch Season 1, Episode 20. Today we're going to be talking about $10 million stolen from Microsoft, new processors coming out, and much more. I am Ryan, and joining me is John. We've been gone for a while. We're finally back.
I lost all my money in Reno, Nevada.
Yep.
I was selling cigarillos in the street.
Yeah, John was selling sticks on the streets for a bit, but he's back now. We cleaned him up. He got shaved. We're back to recording.
Anyway, guys, I just want to quickly shout out that Bitcoin has hit $16,000 as of pulling it up right up before this episode. It's at 1623. It was a little higher, but it has since gone back down. I just think, Bitcoin is a cool technology, and we haven't seen these kind of prices since 2018 when it went to 20K, so who knows?
Do you think it will reach 500,000 though?
I think it really depends, I'm curious to see what happens after all the coins are mined. And then, it could, because there is only 21 million coins ever going to be created. So
the reason I ask is because your boy John Mcafee has not eaten his penis on live television, and it has been over 3 years.
It has.
I saw a lot of people tweeting him these past couple months, asking him where the asking him what's for dinner. Where's the meats?
Yeah. I can't believe he made that. Man, John McAfee's a wild dude.
I think he gets paid by a lot of these cryptocurrencies just to kind of...
Well, he did. So there was a big controversy back when the ICOs that were being pumped out.
Yeah.
Well, they paid him, and they're like, hey, shout us out on your Twitter. And so the price of that coin shot through the roof, because John McAfee still has a decent presence online.
Yeah.
And then he was starting to get investigated. I forget who it was. Was it by the SEC? I don't know. I don't have that article pulled up. This from memory.
Yeah. But he got investigated by a lot of entities.
Well, now apparently it's tax evasion and
IRS is up his booty hole. Yeah. He's got. He
might have been involved in a murder in Belize.
Oh my word! His freaking compound that he had out there. Goodness,
apparently he was cooking meth in there. Who knows?
Yeah, freaking shooting up heroin and coke. Anyway, that's a whole nother
video.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of videos on that man's life on YouTube if you want to go watch them. But I think that cryptocurrency. I know everyone says it's the way of the future, but I do think that eventually we're gonna go towards a more kind of cryptocurrency type system or type economy.
Well, central banks have been looking into it as a reserve kind of thing. They don't want to use Bitcoin specifically. They obviously want to develop their own to have some sort of control.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't JP Morgan try to make their own crypto?
I think they have. I don't know how much success they have with it, but I think they're using it to track transactions or something. Because that is really the highlight of these cryptocurrencies is the blockchain technology.
I was talking with a friend about this, and they were saying, they were going off on some conspiracy theory about the Federal Reserve buying up a bunch of cryptocurrency or whatever, and that may be true as a backup or something like that, but they were saying it was going to replace all modern currency, and I don't think that that's going to happen because they can't really control everything that goes on with that, with the cryptocurrency. That's kind of the draw of cryptocurrency is the whole.
Well, it depends on how the cryptocurrency is designed, and cryptocurrency by default is not anonymous. Like Bitcoin, all transactions are publicly available on the ledger. They have blockchain tools where you can look okay, this wallet address sent to this wallet address, and you can see because that's all recorded. The problem is with Bitcoin is you don't know who that wallet address belongs to. You don't have to present your social security number when you make a wallet,
Okay, so it's just this, this string of numbers is transferring to this string of numbers.
Yeah, so it's...
Okay.
I forget what the term they use. It's not anonymous, but it's difficult.
It's kind of shielded.
But there are coins that are privacy based, like Monero, Dash, Privex, Zcoin. There's a couple that do have like it has a way of keeping track of it without having your wallet address tied to it, or they have ways of like. It's almost like money laundering. They have ways of generating new wallet IDs.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's pretty interesting, and the lengths that people are going to like try and bring finances back into control of the people.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't think like unless they made their own currency, like JP Morgan or something like that. Unless they made their own currency that they, centrally control, I don't think that it's going to replace like modern currency. In my
They've been talking about it. The IMF, the International Money Fund, and then the central bank in Europe, the CBOE, and the Federal Reserve. They've been talking about it for a little while now, like because it does have some promise, and it could potentially help them out with certain things. And obviously, they develop their own. They're not just going to be like, oh, hey, Bitcoin, hey, Ethereum, come on in. Like
yeah, hey, Dogecoin, let's say you're going to be our currency now.
I want a Doge dollar. Come on now. But talking about Bitcoin, I was going to segue into a story about the Silk Road. Our favorite, or used to be favorite, online bazaar.
And not our favorite.
Why you gotta be like that, man? He's all used it. Don't let him fool you. Anyway, so there was an account associated with Silk Road that had over 69,000 Bitcoin. Nice. Which is worth, I'll just talk about the 16K figure, about $1 billion. And so it got transferred because we knew the wallet address from all the legal documents that have come out when Ross Ulbricht and the Silk Road got shut down. And people were watching it and they're like, oh, what's up with this big transfer? And apparently it's in the federal government's reserves. Yeah, I mean not reserves, in their control now. But there was some other backstory that happened with it. Apparently, a mysterious hacker known as Individual X, he was able to seize the Bitcoin from the Silk Road coffers. It says right here, according to the investigation, Individual X was able to hack into Silk Road and gain unauthorized and illegal access to the Silk Road, and therefore, and thereby stealing the illicit cryptocurrency from the Silk Road. And he moved it to wallets that he controlled. Apparently, he didn't return the Bitcoin or spend any of it, which I think is a little not wise. But
yeah.
But apparently, he signed a consent and agreement of forfeiture to the U.S. Attorney Office in San Francisco, and he turned over all the funds to the government. I wanted to see some crazy heist movie, like, oh, I got this billion Bitcoin. And then, we'll kind of tie it into our Microsoft story in a minute. But, he could have bought a waterfront property, a Lambo, been in like Venezuela, slumdog millionaire kind of style.
Could have bought John McAfee's compound in Belize.
That's what I'm saying. He could have bought multiple.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising that he didn't spend anything or transfer it or something like that. You think if maybe he was just waiting for it to like blow over, maybe.
Well, so in the article they talk about how they use a third party like blockchain analysis arbitration kind of a company.
Okay.
That where they, like we said, it isn't anonymous, but they'll analyze the wallet addresses and try and track it down the best they can. And so maybe they were involved and they were like able to somehow identify this person, or I don't know. This is very interesting, and there are some very good videos out there talking about the whole Ross Ulbricht case and how he was sending death threats to people and trying to get hitmen involved, and and the whole Silk Road was very shady, selling drugs.
Oh yeah.
Like,
everything went on there.
Yeah, hitmen,
Yeah, it was
fake IDs. I used to peruse it. I just looked to see what they had. I'm like, that's crazy. Like,
oh yeah. I think anyone who's gotten on tour, I think when it was still up, just went on Silk Road to see if the rumors were true or whatever. But, yeah, they definitely are.
We'll talk about Bitcoin. This case involves Bitcoin, but not to the same degree as $1 billion. But there was a former Microsoft software engineer who was from Ukraine. He's recently been sentenced to 9 years of prison for stealing more than $10 million in store credit from Microsoft's online store.
In store credit?
Yes. So from 26
gift cards.
Essentially, yeah. And so that's what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
From 2016 to 2018, Vladimir Klashkova. I can't. I'm not a very good, Russian, Ukrainian,
Russian.
pronunciation,
We'll call
but he
it
worked for
Putin next.
Microsoft.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the mayor of Moscow.
Yeah. The mayor of Moscow. Anyway, continue.
But he worked for Microsoft as a tester, and what he would do is he'd place mock online orders to make sure that everything worked smoothly. Mm-hmm. And then so the software that he was testing it with, because of his tester account, would automatically prevent shipments of physical products. But a crucial oversight allowed virtual gift cards to be passed through. So this 26-year-old guy, he discovered he could use his test accounts to buy real store credit, and then he could use the credit to buy real products. So at first, he bought an Office subscription and a couple of graphics cards. And when no one objected to what he was doing, he got a little bolder, and he decided to steal millions of dollars worth of Microsoft Store credit. And what he did is he resold it at a steep discount because, a gift card, while it says $10, it's usually locked into one thing. Like if I had a $10 Subway gift card, well, I got to sell it to someone who wants Subway, and they'll be like, no, I'll give you $8 cash, kind of thing. Yeah. So he's selling it at a steep discount for Bitcoin. And he then sent all the Bitcoin to Coinbase and was cashing it out. And, U.S. prosecutors said he netted about $2.8 million. And then he used $160,000 of it to buy a Tesla, and then $1.6 million to buy a waterfront home.
Oh my goodness!
Like, this man was living it up, right? And so at first he didn't even try to cover his tracks, but as it got a little bolder, he was like, "Damn, I'm gonna get caught." So he tried using like Bitcoin tumblers and stuff like that. He eventually got his colleagues who were also testing the same software to get him to like borrow their test accounts. And he was stealing even more gift cards. Finally, he got arrested, like I said, 9 years in prison, and he's being ordered to pay $8.3 million in restitution.
Jeez. Better start mining some Bitcoin.
Well, I wonder what those graphics cards were for. Maybe he's maybe he's gonna try.
Yeah, true.
I would have been I would have escaped the country, went to like Ecuador with no extradition,
Wait, so he was in the U.S.? He wasn't in the Ukraine as a tester?
Yes. So they said, so he's Ukrainian, but he was in the U.S. and then he's being arrested in order to pay the $8.3 million. And then it says the government says he may be deported after serving his time in prison. So
I was gonna say if he was based in the Ukraine or something like that, like.
Oh, he would have been good.
Yeah, they never would have extradited him.
Man, he could be living like a king in Thailand.
Yeah, him and Snowden could have bunked up.
Snowden's not in Thailand. What are you talking
he's
about?
In Russia.
Yeah, he is.
At least that's what he wants you to think.
Oh yeah. Another one is very, very interesting is Netflix is using the DMCA copyright law to fight some controversy about its film called Cuties. It's been sending multiple takedown requests to Twitter, usually targeting tweets that are negative in light about the movie. For y'all that don't know, Cuties is a social film that Netflix made. It shows some young girls doing some indecent things and how they're, I don't know, I've never watched it. There's a lot of controversy because you'll see like 8-year-old girls twerking and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be social commentary, but it comes off as kind of nasty.
So there's a lot of controversy about it, and so people, they'd have a negative comment, they'd have the trailer also attached to it. Well, these takedown requests have been taking the trailer out of the tweets, from my understanding. They were wondering, based on the law, they might be able to do it, but Ryan also brought up the whole free use clause.
Yeah, Twitter has to be very careful with that because they could land themselves in a lot of hot water over DMCA takedowns. Because there's a free use, which includes anything that's parody or criticism. If they're sending DMCA takedown requests to someone who's criticizing, Cuties or whatever, Netflix in general, they have to be very careful because that they could get sued over that.
And it's just like one person, Torrent Freak, reached out to, because they were the original one to report on this story. The person said, someone posted a trailer and I retweeted it and stated how I felt about the movie. I believe people have the right to be upset about the movie. If people share the trailer and say go watch it, it's not a problem. But if someone disagrees with it, it is a problem. So it is a little strange because they are mainly targeting these negative tweets, and there's been about 300 takedown requests so far. It just doesn't sit well with me, especially with some other things that have been going on with social media controlling what we see. And
you brought up Twitter's kind of bending over backwards for a lot of companies and stuff like that. So it's not surprising, but I do think Twitter could land themselves in a lot of hot water for bending over backwards to basically silence critics. They're not taking their full tweets down, but they're also removing a portion of the tweet that is needed for the argument, if that makes any sense.
It is a little strange, and I wish, I've been trying to find alternatives to social media platforms because I really don't like how much control they have and how you're just openly giving up your data. Like, I have this conversation with myself about every once a week. I'm like, I should delete my Facebook, and then I'm like, I'll keep it.
Yeah, I've been doing the same. I wish there was, because a lot of them either fail or they get bought out or stuff like that. There are some alternatives. Maybe we can make a standalone video in the future of alternatives. Because
there's Mastodon, which is like a Twitter alternative that's supposed to be free and privacy respecting, and that's still around. And then there's Frednica, which is similar to Facebook, but it's a little different.
And there's Libre or Library.
There's Diaspora,
alternative for YouTube.
Oh, that's actually pretty. I like what they're doing, man.
They just came out with their new. I forgot what their new website's called, but they just revamped their whole website and they made another video hosting site off of it, and it looks a lot better than Library.
And the performance actually isn't all that bad, so I was like, oh. Yeah,
Library was a little buggy, because we have a channel on there and we post to it. Anything that goes on YouTube will go on our Library account. But yeah, it was a little buggy. There was definitely some issues with it, but they apparently revamped the whole platform and made another site.
Well, and this kind of goes into something, it doesn't matter how you feel about your the Second Amendment, but a lot of YouTubers that post gun-related content, depending on how that content is, it gets flagged and either shadow banned or taken down from YouTube.
Yeah.
So there's a whole new website called Gunstreamer that has popped up. It's actually not doing too bad.
There's a lot of gun channels on YouTube.
Well, and I think if YouTube continues with this whole shadow banning and because it used to be what was the slogan, broadcast yourself, I think.
Yeah.
If they keep going at it, in certain ways, I feel like it's just going to drive away more people. And while YouTube still is king, Kings do die every now and then.
This is true. Yeah, I get it. It's if it's a private company, they can do what they want. Just whatever store can tell you to wear a mask or to wear shoes when you walk in. It's their store, it's private property. They can do what they want. But that doesn't mean people have to agree with it. And if there is an alternative, there should be an alternative. The problem I have is that when there are alternatives, these bigger companies usually try to go after them, and either try to bankrupt them or buy them out or what have you. That's the issue that I have. I don't mind that YouTube exists. I just don't like it. I think that they're going down a road that's going to end very badly for them.
They are the best at what they do. So far, I've used Vimeo. There was one back in the day called Mcafee, Daily Motion. They're all okay, but YouTube has really refined what they're doing.
Oh, they definitely have. Right now, they're the best product as far as usability. I have never had an issue using YouTube either as a daily user or for a creator. I've never had an issue figuring out what was going on or how to use stuff. I just don't like their policies. I don't like that you're basically getting paid from YouTube, so you basically have to follow all their stipulations before you can get paid. And then if you misbehave or whatever, then okay, we're just not going to pay you anymore.
I think there's an argument to be made about their advertisers don't want to be on certain content, and maybe they could segregate the ads a certain way. So I guarantee you there's a lot of gun people that be like, hey, take our night vision sight and slap it on your AK or whatever, kind of thing. And they'd love to go on like gun videos or there's probably a few other examples. I can't think of any more on the top of my head, but
there's plenty of companies that, or at least in my opinion, there's plenty of companies that would be fine with being on videos that YouTube might think is deemed not ad friendly or whatever. And a lot of YouTubers have kind of gotten around this by getting sponsors, right? Like there's a lot of YouTubers that aren't family friendly, they're vulgar, crude or whatever, but they get around it by just finding another sponsor because they know YouTube won't,
guys, check out Raid Shadow Legends. We have a link in the description. You can get 200 free gold.
Have you ever heard of Raycon? So yeah, I mean, there are ways of getting around it. But it's, in my opinion, it's just kind of crappy either way. But I do think there are a lot of companies who would be fine with it. I mean, obviously there is, as I said, there's YouTubers who are not at all family friendly and go against the YouTube guidelines for being monetized, but they still have sponsors. So there are companies who are willing to do it, but YouTube just isn't willing to segregate those videos into a certain category for those ads. Which, I mean, if they don't want to do it, that's fine. Again, they're a private company; they can do what they want, but that doesn't mean people have to agree with it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think time will tell, but I think YouTube will still reign for a while, but I think if we continue going on with what we've been seeing with shadow bans and demonetization, they're just going to drive more people away. And I know some longtime people have been very critical of YouTube, like Philip DeFranco, huge guy. I've watched this guy for years, and he's called out a couple of times where they're demonetizing and shadow banning and stuff like that.
There's been a lot of people. What was it? Linus from Linus Tech Tips. He created I can't remember the name of it right now, but he created another website basically to upload videos to. It's called Floatplane. Is that it? Something like that. He was one of the YouTube creators that was in on the discussion of creating this other site. At least I think he was. If I'm not, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure he was one of the main voices in creating this alternative to YouTube.
Well, the main thing I miss about YouTube is I could joke around and be like the yellow subscribe button, but I just miss that anyone could post anything, and as long as it wasn't like illegal content, like illegal.
Yeah, actually against federal law.
I don't want to mention it because we'll probably get shadow banned, but then they would actually take it down and do stuff about it. And I understand copyrights as well, but I used to be able to watch like some random video and the algorithms changed too. Yep. And like I'd be recommended something other. Like I really missed a YouTube rabbit hole where you spend 8 hours and you're like, how did I get to alien conspiracy theories?
It always ended up at alien conspiracy theories every single time.
Illuminati.
I had a friend, he left his TV on. He was on YouTube a couple of years ago. And he just left his TV on, and the autoplay was on. He fell asleep on the couch, and he just woke up to like this CGI alien like talking to him on his TV. And it was some like alien conspiracy theory, and they were like quoting what this guy said this entity told him or whatever. It was wild. But I do miss that as well, because now the suggestions are always, it's either from that same channel or something extremely similar.
And you just get stuck, like, depending on what you
loop.
Yeah, you get stuck in like an echo chamber where you're just hearing the same thing. Like sometimes I want a little variety. Like even if I don't agree with it, I'll still look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you could say that's they're optimizing their algorithm. I guess you could say it's progression. But I do miss that as well. It seems much more like a company website rather than a video platform to me. Like when you go on YouTube, everything's very neat and orderly. The algorithms are always like giving you what it thinks you want, stuff like that. And like, I don't know,
I don't think they know how to deal with me because my search terms, like, I'm all over the place. So, like one week I'll get suggestions for just one thing, the next week it's this. I never get a mixture, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But yeah, there are alternatives. I do want to make a video in the future on like the alternatives to major sites. Basically, just go through a list of what is out there. Because I mean, the more people that jump ship from these main websites, if you're unhappy with it, if you're happy with it, fine. Like if you want to use it, more power to you. That's completely fine. But if you don't, there are alternatives to most of the social media platforms out there. Just a lot of people don't know about them. And it's kind of just like word of mouth, unless one of their founders is like a YouTuber or something like that that's able to get the word out there. Like Library, I had no idea about Library until I watched a YouTuber who said that he was moving from YouTube to Library. I didn't even know it existed, and I looked it up. It's completely free. Like it works pretty good. I can't remember their new site that they have. But it is better optimized than their old Library site. But yeah, like there are alternatives out there. I just don't think a lot of people know about it, and they get frustrated about it.
In other news, we're going to talk about AMD's announcement of their Zen 3 architecture, which will be coming on their new 5000 series Ryzen processors. It's getting extremely spicy in the CPU realm. For a while, Intel has reigned the champion at single-threaded performance. AMD's been pretty good, mainly because they just offer more cores at a reasonable price at multi-threaded benchmarks. But with this new optimizations they've made, they are finally either head-to-head or slightly beating single-thread performance versus Intel. This kind of shows a rocky future in Intel's like. So Intel, they run all their own their own fabs. They produce all their own silicon in-house. AMD doesn't have that luxury, and they often go to companies like TSMC, which produces all the silicon for them, which TSMC has been moving at a very nice pace. They're on 7-nanometer architectures right now, where Intel's still lagging behind on their 14-nanometer. For the foreseeable future, especially with their new Rocket Lake, which is expected to come out in 2021, it'll probably still be on the 14-nanometer process, which will just keep Intel lagging behind unless they're able to pull a rabbit out of their hat. You know, so I really appreciate the competition, because there was a while where AMD wasn't doing too good, and it was like, if you want a good CPU, just buy Intel, you know. And now there's actually options. I can be like, oh, let me weigh the pros and the cons, and right now there's a lot of pros in AMD's favor. It's looking very spicy.
Yeah, it is a huge breath of fresh air, and I know they've been around for a while since they released their Zen processor and stuff like that, and started being competitive again. Because when I was building a computer a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, I was like, okay, I don't want to go with Intel because they're super expensive. They are stable, but I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get the FX series, like AMD, because that was the best that they had at the time. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, we're coming out with a new CPU and it's gonna be amazing and blah blah blah. So I waited for it, and it was a huge breath of fresh air, and it was like half the price. They're still way cheaper than the Intel chips. It's really nice.
It has caused Intel to, because Intel has this progression called TikTok. They haven't really been following it too lately. Basically, like, they'd move nodes, so it'd go from like 14 nanometer to 7 nanometer, and then the next generation it'd just be architecture refinement, and then they'd move nodes again. But they haven't been doing that lately because they've been having problems shrinking the fabrication process down, moving nodes. And this is, I think, where AMD will ultimately pull ahead. Like, they're on 7 nanometers where Intel's on 14. They're able to pack more transistors into the same space, you know.
Yeah, I do think AMD is going to be ahead for quite a few years. I mean, Intel, if the articles I was reading, were true, Intel cut off a lot of funding towards their like kind of hardware industry or whatever, because they were so far ahead of anyone else, and they kind of put money into other things that they were working on, and all of a sudden AMD just kind of came out of nowhere. So now Intel's having to finish up these other projects that they were working on and then redivert focus onto like their R&D. And I don't know how long it's going to take them to actually do that, but
well, it is interesting because Intel, this kind of segues into the next story. They're in a lot of different areas.
Mm-hmm.
They make NICs, they make various machine learning chips.
Yeah.
To me, it almost looks like they're going in IBM direction. Like IBM used to make PCs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now IBM's focusing a lot on quantum computing. They have their IBM Cloud. They bought Red Hat a couple years ago.
Yeah, they have their AI.
Um,
It's like the IBM deep learning or something like that.
yeah, I think it's that. They have their IBM Q, which is like a internet linked quantum computer.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You can like pay to use some of it to run some of your quantum. And while it's only like 9 qubits or whatever, quantum computing will be a huge leap.
Yeah.
Like it won't be good at every application, but like for like medical, like pharmaceutical engineering and potentially vaccines, stuff like that. It could have a huge impact on development of all kinds of different technologies.
Oh, speaking of new technologies, did you hear about the lab that was able to store the entirety of Wizard of Oz on human DNA?
DNA storage has been a thing I've seen in the past. I haven't heard that specific story.
Yeah, they were able to store the entirety of the Wizard of Oz on a strand of DNA or whatever. And apparently Microsoft bought a bunch of the labs, and they're now looking into flash storage, I guess. I don't know how that's going to work in the future, but
I don't think it's called flash storage.
No, it's not. I just can't. I don't know the term. I mean, it's storing it on organic material, I guess. But
Intel calls it DNA digital data storage. So okay. I guess I thought there was a cleaner word for it, but
flash storage.
Well, some people are talking about the DNA of things, and
oh no. Like there's flash memory, and now there's flash memory.
Well, there was an interesting technology that, and this is one thing I miss about, if we're talking about reminiscing, like old school YouTube, the old school Science Channel and Discovery Channel actually used to be like science and technology related. Yep. And there was this article, they talked about these holographic discs. I think they're called HVDs. Let me Google it really quick. But it uses holographic technology. But basically, it was able to store, in the same form factor as a DVD, tons of storage. I want to say like terabytes of storage.
Really?
Yeah, holographic versatile disc. And let's see, the capacity of it was 6 terabytes. Okay. That's pretty insane when you think about it. And I don't know, it just kind of fell off. Like, I don't know what happened to it. And I know we're moving away from discs to a more digital world, but
yeah, that might be why. Might go the way of the laser disc.
Hey man, laser disc, rest in peace. Like, mad respect.
Mad respect.
Anyway, talk about Intel. They released something interesting. They have their Z Max discrete GPUs for laptops that they announced, and in their little keynote press conference, they were showing that it beats an entry-level NVIDIA card, the MX350, in a lot of different metrics. But it's unclear of what Intel's trying to do. I don't think they're going to aim for a like the gaming GPU market like NVIDIA and AMD are.
Yeah.
But they say that it has some interesting workload technologies for like AI and whatnot. So they use this tool called Gigapixel AI, which is used to enhance very large and grainy photos down, kind of like the old CSI, enhance kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to zoom in, kind of thing.
Because that's what zooming does.
Well, and they're talking about how the Z Max, it's very similar to the internal GPUs built into the processor of Tiger Lake CPUs, and how the Tiger Lake and the Z Max could potentially work together. Not like SLI, but it had some way of splitting workload up in a different way. So I think it'll be very interesting, and as more information comes out about it, I think maybe this is what Intel's focusing their efforts on. Who knows? I know they took like...
Because I don't think that... I mean, NVIDIA and AMD have made some huge leaps in the GPU realm with their graphics cards. I don't think Intel at this point can outperform them. So that would make sense if they're looking into kind of a different approach to that field.
Well, and we've seen this before with the Xeon Phi cards, which is it's like a PCI Express card, but it's meant for like supercomputing. Like the Xeon Phi directly competes with like NVIDIA's Tesla cards, which their Tesla cards are for like machine learning, AI, like all kinds of. So maybe that's what they're trying to go for, the whole data center or supercomputer aspect.
It might be, yeah. Yeah, maybe they'll go the way of IBM and start competing with them.
The 10He2 supercomputer, I think I'm saying that right. It's some supercomputer in China, but it uses these, and it's at 33.8 petaflops of computing power.
Jeez.
So, and that's just one. I think there's a couple supercomputers that are a little more powerful, if I remember correctly. But
you could run Minecraft on Ultra on that.
Oh, with ray tracing.
With ray tracing.
That was the interesting thing. NVIDIA's like, we have this cool technology called ray tracing, and Minecraft's like, bet.
Oh my goodness.
And we're like, wait, what? You're going to make these blocks have like super realistic shadows? Like, what's going on here?
Oh my word.
So there's a supercomputer in Japan called the Fugaku. I'm probably butchering that, so don't. Probably. It's made by Fujitsu. I can't even talk. Never mind.
Fujitsu.
Fujitsu. Yeah, there we go. I need to freshen up on my Japanese, but apparently it runs at 415 petaflops of power, which 10 times what I just referenced with the other one.
So they're using these for what, AI? They're using these for like just
with the supercomputers?
Yeah. Like what's the purpose?
Supercomputers are used for a lot of things. Like in the United States, we have the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and we've done all kinds. We've done like various nuclear testing. We look at how like particles interact with each other. Like we use this to study like Higgs boson and stuff. Because like the Oak Ridge National Laboratory is sponsored by the U.S. Department of Energy, and so they use a lot of it for like nuclear stuff in that one. Some of them are doing other projects, just trying to understand the world a little bit better.
Okay.
But yeah, so maybe that's what they're trying to do with their Z Max. Maybe this is a downstream of some of their more advanced enterprise level stuff.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what they're doing, because it does seem kind of weird, but I understand that they're not trying to directly compete with NVIDIA and AMD right now as far as GPUs go, because they're kind of at the top of the food chain right now. It makes sense that they're kind of going a different route, but it'll be interesting to see exactly what that is.
Yeah, only time will tell.
Yeah.
Sure. In other news, Apple announces their custom ARM-based M1 processor.
Oh boy.
This has been in the making for a while now. Apple has not really been fond of, either using AMD, Intel, or NVIDIA for their chips, as it feels like it locks them out of, ultimately, I think, a little bit more expensive. So we'll see how this pays out in the long run. But their M1 processor is a system on chip based on ARM. It's an 8-core chip that uses the big little architecture. So it has 4 high-performance cores and then 4 power-efficient cores. And it's able to divvy up the task to, like, say, if you have something in the background, it's not doing too much, it'll give it to the smaller cores. Where if you're doing something more intensive, it uses the more powerful ones. They also mentioned it has an 8-core GPU on the same system on chip, which should be more powerful than the Intel Iris graphics card. It's found in some of the lower-end MacBooks. But we haven't seen too much. They're not out yet. We can pre-order the new MacBook Air, the new MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini, which do have these chips in them.
And according to Apple, they are faster than 98% of laptops in existence.
Well, I haven't seen that claim, but they did make some bold statements. One of them is claiming that it offers up to 3.5 times the performance over competing CPUs. They didn't say what kind of competing CPU, so we don't know if it's an Intel Atom processor. We don't know if it's an i3.
And what kind of performance? Like just speed? Is this like chonking through data? Is this like...
Yeah, and that's exactly what Ars Technica said. They said, we're not sure what level of performance Apple is aiming for here.
It's so vague.
They made another claim that their Apple M1 is 3 times more powerful per watt than the latest PC laptop chip. Which, what does latest PC laptop chip mean? It's incredibly vague. It's ridiculous.
time will tell for that one as well. We'll have to actually see testing on that.
But an interesting thing is apparently Apple's been able to create their own Thunderbolt controller, which is usually a technology license from Intel.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be curious to see how that works, if it's just as good, if there's, anything lacking from it.
Okay, I could definitely get behind that because I would definitely like to see that in more laptops.
Thunderbolt's okay. I have a love-hate relationship with it, but
I just think it's just easier. It's just more efficient.
I think if we start moving towards Type C, I feel like that make things a lot easier too.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to, like Thunderbolt through Type C, because like I don't know, that having multiple connectors and stuff through, like if you just had two Type Cs on the side instead of using like a barrel connector or something like that, like it would just be way easier.
Well, I think for now you should keep some Type A's, but I think they should be putting pressures on like accessory manufacturers, like, hey, Type C is the future, like.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying take out the USBs, but I mean USB like 3.1 and stuff. It's not bad. It still works really well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's super fast. I mean everything's not optimized for it even yet, so I don't think the Type Cs are gonna completely take over because the industry hasn't even caught up with the newest the newest USB right now.
Well, there's also some other claims Apple's made about this integrated GPU that has 8 cores. They say it's the fastest in class, offering 2.6 teraflops of a floating point 32 throughput. But it's extremely interesting. And one of the things that got brought up is because this new M1 processor is built on ARM, not all x86 applications from previous Macs will run natively. They are working. They said all included, Apple products should work. We have ARM-specific binaries that Apple claims will be relatively easy for many Mac developers to compile the code again to support ARM.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's a whole nother problem I didn't think about.
So, and I think this is an interesting move, and I thought Apple was trying to do it to get away from the big silicon companies like Intel, NVIDIA, AMD.
Yeah.
But it turns out NVIDIA just bought ARM not too long ago, so
back to square one.
But this also brings to light that ARM processors, x86 is an old architecture, and it is pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still the best. Like, if you want a high-end desktop, that's what you're going to get, or servers. But I think as ARM continues to mature and get more support, I could see an ARM future. And we've seen this. Windows 10 has supported ARM products. You can put Windows 10 on your Raspberry Pi 4 now.
Oh, really?
Because the Pi 4 has a 64-bit processor with, you can get up to 8 gigs of RAM on it. And we've seen ARM support like continue to grow. Like every smartphone is ARM. I'm excited.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff brewing right now. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what like a new high-end laptop or new high-end like computer will look like in like 5 years, because there's a lot of stuff coming out right now that's really exciting.
Well, and one thing I didn't talk about is AMD released their new graphics cards on the Big Navi.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen any independent benchmarks from my understanding, but from what AMD promises, which they've been pretty good at, they've been pretty level. Before they'd be like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And then we get it and we're like, bro, this is hot garbage. Like, what is this? But they've been pretty good. And they're saying it's trading blows with some of the 3090s and stuff from NVIDIA,
Yeah, I'm definitely, because I'm looking to upgrade my desktop here. I'm trying to swap out some parts and stuff, and the graphics card is definitely on the menu right now. But I'm waiting to see who's how this all turns out.
Well, the biggest thing is, and someone brought this up, is so if you've been following the NVIDIA, the RTX 3000 series, they've been having huge supply problems.
Yes. Yep.
And part of it is with the current pandemic, everyone needs a PC at home, so everyone's trying to get parts and everything. The other part is there's a bunch of like bot snipers that'll go on a Newegg, and the second it uploads, click, buy all of them, Yep.
Yeah, there's a bunch of scalpers and stuff like that. I know, I think it was NVIDIA on their site, or it was Newegg on their site. I can't remember which one. but they had like a queue process. So like you would order one, you would pre-order one, right? They would send you a number. And when you logged onto the site, you were in like a queue basically to buy it. I know that helped a lot with the scalping problem. Because, every time a new graphics card comes out or whatever, like there'll be a ton of scalpers. They'll buy up like 100 of them and then they'll, upmark them by like 1,000% on eBay. They're trying to cut down on that.
Well, and the big reason people don't understand why, a lot of people are like, well, a company is a company when they want the money. And to an extent, but the reason Newegg and Micro Center and all these other, PC part sellers care is if you buy graphics cards, 9 times out of 10, you're going to buy a power supply. You might buy a better monitor. You're going to buy all these improvements that also help them get more money instead of just buying a whole pallet of, 3080s. Like
exactly.
But I think it's going to be extremely interesting. There's finally some competition in the GPU space.
Yep.
We're still waiting on independent third-party benchmarks, but AMD's been pretty truthful so far. Another thing is with AMD and their supply problems, because like those Zen 3 processors I mentioned cannot be found anywhere. They're sold out.
Yep.
It's that same scalping problem we mentioned, but a lot of people also speculated that the Xbox and the PS5 that just came out, a lot of people don't know, but those have AMD chips inside. Those are based off of Ryzen and the RDNA 2, I believe, chips that AMD makes. And so they might be diverting some of their supply towards those for the holiday seasons is what some people are speculating.
Okay. I mean, I guess that would make sense. Because, they probably signed some sort of contract saying that they're going to supply this many to these companies. I understand that. That sucks that people might not be able to get them as quickly as they want, but I'll allow it. Like it does make sense. Like some guy, upgrading his PC or myself upgrading my PC. Like I would love to have it as soon as possible, but if I can't, I can't. Like I'm not going to blame them because they signed a contract with another company.
It's heating up a lot. I think it's interesting the future of what computing and gaming and all that has in store for us. Could it be ARM based? Could it be something else? Could it be RISC-V? Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of reason there's a lot more hype is there's finally competition again. Like before, if you wanted a good computer, you bought an Intel processor and an NVIDIA graphics card. It was cut and dry. It was that simple. Well, now, AMD is actually bringing some heat, bringing it to the table with their new processors and their new graphics cards. Like the processors, from what they promised and what actually delivered, is pretty true to what they said. Like Zen has been a huge success. I actually am rocking a first generation Zen processor in mine, and it's still kicking. It's still doing good. Like 8 cores for at the time, it was so much cheaper than an Intel variant.
Oh yeah. I have a first generation Ryzen in mine, and I've had 0 issues, like absolutely no issues with it. It runs everything I want it to. It's been great. I'm looking to upgrade it, in the next like year and a half, but it's been amazing so far.
Well, and just so no one calls me a fanboy, I am running a 1080 right now, which at the time was the best for my money. So I got I speak with my money and get what I can.
Yep.
And so if AMD can bring something that's comparable or even better for the same price or even less, I might think about getting an AMD GPU too. So
a little AMD boy.
Yeah.
No, that's why I'm kind of waiting to upgrade my stuff, because I am really interested to see if AMD will actually bring something that's competitive. And if they do, I'm going to assume that it'll be cheaper than whatever NVIDIA has on the market. And if that is the case, then obviously I'm going to go with AMD. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens with all this, to see if they're actually true to their own benchmarks.
I think that's about all the stories I have. You have anything you want to talk about?
No, I think that's it. It's good to be back. If you made it this far, thanks for listening.
Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button.
Ding that bell.
It really helps the YouTube algorithm.
No, do what you want.
Yeah, we don't care. We'll watch paint dry.
For real. Hey, there's a website for that actually.
Oh, there is?
Yeah. There's a website you can watch paint dry. You can also watch. We went over this in a previous episode actually.
Oh.
There's a website for watching grass grow. There's a website dedicated to watching a hamburger in Iceland.
Hey, that hamburger is real interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I'll be looking at it and just be licking my lips like, Just wait till I go to McDonald's. I'm gonna tear that.
Goodness. Anyway, we'll end it there before this gets too graphic and we get.
Make sure to sign up for our Patreon to hear the rest of my talk and
we don't have
use our Raid Shadow Legend link in the description.
Oh my goodness, no.
We're not sponsored. Please help.
We're here because we want to, and that's it. But yeah, it's good to be back. I'm sure we'll make more videos in the future when we have time.